Hamilton was not supposed to win this race. Mercedes had the pole position. Mercedes had the championship leader. Mercedes had the fastest story in Formula One, and Ferrari looked like they were taking a dangerous gamble with Hamilton's strategy. Then one virtual safety car changed everything. Ferrari called Hamilton in at the perfect second, Mercedes lost control of the race, Antonelli's engine failed, and suddenly Hamilton did more than win his first Grand Prix in red. He cut a massive championship gap in one afternoon. But here is the part most people missed. The real investigation may not be about Hamilton at all. Because while everyone is asking whether Ferrari's strategy went too far, the bigger question is why Ferrari had already pushed the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile to look closer at Mercedes. And that means Hamilton might not be the driver in trouble. He might be the reason Mercedes is now under pressure. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why this race became so explosive, you have to start before the controversy, before the headlines, before anyone tried to turn Hamilton's win into a scandal. You have to start with the position Mercedes thought they were in. Because Mercedes did not arrive in Spain hoping to survive. They arrived looking like the team in control. George Russell had taken pole position. Kimi Antonelli, the young championship leader, was right there near the front. Mercedes had the momentum, the confidence, and the kind of early season form that makes every rival feel like they are already running out of time. Ferrari, on the other hand, needed something more than a normal race. They needed a disruption. They needed a strategic opening. They needed Hamilton to turn a difficult situation into something bigger than the numbers on the timing screen. And that is exactly why Ferrari's tire choice mattered. Starting Hamilton on soft tires was not the safe call. It was not the comfortable call. Soft tires give you speed, but they also create danger. They can fade. They can overheat. They can turn from a weapon into a weakness if the driver pushes too hard, too early. For Mercedes, that may have looked like a vulnerability. For Ferrari, it was bait. Because Ferrari was not simply trying to copy Mercedes. They were trying to pull the race into a different shape, a shape where Hamilton's experience could matter more than Mercedes' clean starting position. That is the key. This was not only a race of cars. It was a race of patience. Hamilton had to stay close enough to make the strategy work, but calm enough not to destroy the tires before Ferrari could use the plan. He had to live in that uncomfortable space where every lap matters, but one mistake can ruin the entire afternoon. And while Mercedes managed the race from the front, Ferrari watched for the one thing that could flip everything. A slower field. A reduced speed window. A moment where the pit lane suddenly became cheaper. That sounds technical, but it is simple. Imagine standing in a long line at an airport. Everyone is moving quickly, and if you step away, you lose your place. But then the entire line slows down. Suddenly, stepping away for a second does not cost as much, because nobody else is moving fast either. That is what a virtual safety car can do to a race. It does not give you a win by itself. It gives you a chance. And Ferrari had built Hamilton's race around being ready for that chance. This is where the first misunderstanding begins. People looked at the timing of the stop and treated it like something suspicious. But in Formula One, reacting fast is not the same as breaking rules. A perfectly timed call can look unfair when it beats your rival. It can feel almost too clean, too precise, too damaging. But feeling robbed is not proof of being cheated. And that difference matters, because Mercedes was not beaten by chaos alone. They were beaten by preparation meeting opportunity. Ferrari chose the risk early, absorbed the danger in the middle, and waited for the race to open a door. When that door appeared, Hamilton walked through it before Mercedes could close it. But here is the deeper problem for Mercedes. This race did not happen in isolation. It happened during a season where Ferrari already had questions about Mercedes. Not questions about one pit stop. Not questions about one lap. Questions about the car itself, and especially the way the Mercedes front wing was being interpreted under the new rules. So when Ferrari outsmarted Mercedes in Spain, the result carried extra weight. It was not just Ferrari saying, "We beat you today." It was Ferrari saying, "We can beat you on strategy, and we still want answers about how your car is working." That is what turns a Grand Prix into a political fight. Because once the fastest team starts losing, every technical question around them gets louder. Hamilton's win was emotional, but it was also strategic pressure. It gave Ferrari credibility. It gave them leverage. It made the paddock look at Mercedes differently, not with fear alone, but with curiosity. And curiosity is dangerous in Formula One. Because once rival teams start looking closely, they rarely stop at the first answer. Then came the moment that made the whole paddock lean forward. Not the finish. Not the podium. Not even Hamilton's emotional radio message after the flag. The real spark was the pit stop. Because when the virtual safety car appeared, Ferrari reacted instantly. Hamilton came in, the tires were changed, and suddenly the race no longer belonged to the team that had started from pole position. It belonged to the team that had been waiting for the exact second everyone else feared missing. For a casual fan, it may have looked simple. A car slowed on track. The race was neutralized. Ferrari made a stop. Hamilton gained. But inside a Formula One garage, that moment is chaos disguised as calm. Engineers are watching timing screens. Strategists are calculating gaps. Drivers are asking what is happening ahead. Rival teams are trying to guess whether the opportunity is real, or whether reacting too quickly could destroy their entire race. And this is why Ferrari's call hit so hard. They did not hesitate. That matters more than people realize. In Formula One, hesitation can cost a second. 1 second can cost track position. Track position can cost the race. And when the field is moving under virtual safety car speed, the window does not stay open for long. It opens, it tempts you, and then it disappears. Ferrari saw it. Mercedes felt it too late. That is when the story around the race began to change. Because Hamilton did not come out looking like a driver who had been saved by luck. He came out looking like a driver who had been given exactly what he needed. Fresh tires. Clear purpose. A race plan that suddenly made sense. And then he started driving like the old Hamilton. Not reckless. Not desperate. Precise. Every lap after that stop added pressure. Every sector made the Mercedes wall look a little more uncomfortable. Every time Hamilton extended the gap, Ferrari's gamble looked less like a gamble and more like a trap that had finally closed. But this is where the rumor began to grow. The idea spread that Mercedes had protested Ferrari's strategy. That the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile was looking into what Ferrari had done. That Hamilton might be in serious trouble after winning one of the most emotional races of his career. It was the perfect scandal shape. A shock victory. A furious rival. A governing body investigation. A champion under threat. But there was a problem. The verified facts did not match the drama. There was no confirmed Mercedes protest against Ferrari's Spanish Grand Prix strategy. There was no confirmed evidence that Hamilton's virtual safety car stop broke the rules. And there was no reliable proof that Ferrari had done anything illegal with the timing of the call. The strategy was painful for Mercedes. That does not make it illegal. And this is the part that separates a real Formula One controversy from a manufactured one. A team can be angry without having a case. A race can feel unfair without being against the rules. A strategy can look too perfect without being suspicious. That is exactly what happened here. Ferrari did not win because the rulebook vanished. They won because they used the rulebook better at the exact moment the race allowed it. And for Mercedes, that may have been even harder to accept. Because if Ferrari had broken the rules, Mercedes could fight the result directly. They could point to a violation. They could demand a penalty. They could turn defeat into procedure. But if Ferrari simply outsmarted them, then the wound is different. That kind of loss goes deeper. It forces the team to ask why they did not react first. Why they did not protect the window. Why Hamilton, a driver who knew Mercedes better than almost anyone, had just beaten them with a Ferrari strategy that required total trust from the pit wall. And that trust is important. Because Hamilton's move to Ferrari was never just about a contract. It was about belief. Could he trust a new group of engineers? Could Ferrari give him the timing, the tire calls, and the race management needed to fight Mercedes? Could he become more than a symbol in red? Barcelona answered part of that. Not all of it, but enough to scare people. Because Hamilton did not need Ferrari to dominate every lap. He needed Ferrari to put him in position once. And when they did, he turned that chance into victory by 19.5 seconds over Russell. That margin matters. It means the race did not remain balanced after the stop. It means Ferrari's decision did not merely help Hamilton survive. It unlocked pace Mercedes could not match in the final phase. And then the championship picture cracked open. Kimi Antonelli's retirement on lap 62 made the whole day even more damaging for Mercedes. He had been fighting to limit the loss. He had moved into second place. He was still protecting the championship lead. Then the engine failed. One moment, Mercedes had a result that hurt but could be managed. The next, their championship leader had scored nothing. That is why the Spanish Grand Prix became more than a Ferrari celebration. Hamilton did not just win. He cut Antonelli's lead from a huge advantage to something far more vulnerable. The gap became 41 points. Still significant, but no longer distant enough to feel safe. And in Formula One, safety is often an illusion. One retirement changes the picture. One strategy call changes the race. One technical investigation changes the mood of an entire season. That is why the rumor attached itself so easily to Hamilton. The race already felt too dramatic to be clean. But the real drama was not hidden inside Ferrari's pit stop. It was hidden behind the timing of everything around it. Ferrari had won the strategy battle. Mercedes had lost its championship leader from the race. Hamilton had become a genuine threat again. And the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile was already involved in a separate Mercedes-Ferrari dispute, one that had nothing to do with Hamilton's pit stop, but everything to do with the future of the season. That is the twist most people missed. The investigation story was real. But the target was not the one the headline wanted you to believe. Now the story moves away from the pit wall and into the paddock, where the real pressure begins. Because inside Formula One, a race result is never just a race result. It becomes a message. Ferrari's message was obvious. They could fight Mercedes. They could put Hamilton in a winning position. They could take a risk, hold their nerve, and turn a narrow opportunity into a victory that changed the championship. But Mercedes' message was more complicated. From the outside, finishing second with Russell might have looked like damage limitation. A podium is still a podium. Points still count. The season does not collapse because one rival gets one perfect afternoon. But that is not how this would have felt inside the Mercedes garage. Because Mercedes did not lose from weakness. They lost from strength. They had pole position. They had track position. They had the championship leader in the fight. They had every reason to believe the race could be controlled. And then Ferrari found a way through. That kind of defeat does something strange to a team. It does not simply hurt. It makes people recheck everything. The strategy model. The tire predictions. The virtual safety car reaction time. The communication between pit wall and driver. The moment where the race shifted from manageable to unreachable. And for Russell, the frustration would have been sharp. He had started from the best position possible. He had done the hardest part on Saturday. But on Sunday, the race slipped into Hamilton's hands. Not because Russell vanished. Not because he forgot how to drive. But because Ferrari changed the terms of the fight. That is one of the cruelest things about Formula One. Sometimes you do your job and still lose. Russell could look at second place and know it was valuable. But he could also look across at Hamilton, standing in Ferrari red, and understand what the world was going to remember. Not Mercedes on pole. Hamilton winning. Not Russell limiting damage. Ferrari breaking the streak. Not a solid podium. A symbolic defeat. And then there was Antonelli. His race was even more brutal. He was not just another Mercedes driver. He was the championship leader, the young driver carrying the next era of the team, the rookie sensation who had helped Mercedes dominate the early season. Every point mattered for him. Every race was part of a larger story about whether he was truly ready to lead Formula One's most intense fight. For most of the day, he still had a way to protect the damage. Second place would have hurt, but it would have kept Hamilton at a safer distance. It would have allowed Mercedes to leave Spain disappointed, not wounded. Then the engine failed on lap 62. And that changed the emotional temperature of the entire championship. Because a driver can accept being beaten. A driver can study why another strategy worked. But a retirement that steals a podium in the closing stages feels different. It feels empty. It leaves no defense. It turns a long afternoon of work into nothing.